First of all, thank you for the invitation to present. As the minnow in the room, we're very honoured to actually be asked to be included. I'd like to thank NZX for their... can you hear me better now? Yeah, that's a better idea, isn't it? It's a very timely initiative, I think, to be doing this, and it takes me back to the old days and the last resources boom, which was oil and gas back in the early 80s, when companies like Petro, Taranaki, NZ Oil and Gas, Southern Petroleum and so on listed, and it was such a fever at the time. I remember seeing people climbing lampposts outside the stock exchange in Wellington to look at the trading floor when Petro Taranaki listed. This just basically says don't believe anything I say. I believe what I'm saying, even if you... Okay, I'm going to briefly talk about our objectives, go briefly through the history, and talk about moving forward. Right, first of all, that's where we are. Our project is in the middle of the Chatham Rise. It's out in the ocean. It's not on the Chatham Islands. It's 250 kilometres from the Chatham Islands and about 500 from Christchurch. It's an area of 820 square kilometres, and there's 23.4 million tonnes of rock phosphate sitting there on the seabed 400 metres under the water. It was first discovered in 1952, so this project has been going for 74 years already, which I think puts everybody else a little bit in the shade. And it won't be in production for at least another 4 years. Right, our objectives are to be a supplier of a particular sort of rock phosphate. We're passionate about it, and obviously I'm passionate about it because I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still up here talking. Our secondary objectives are to acquire other projects, vertically integrate into phosphate marketing, and also to establish the viability and implement recovery of rare earths as a byproduct. And I'll talk briefly about that at the end, but basically the value of the rare earths out there in our mining area is roughly 100 times more valuable than the rock phosphate if we could recover it, but we don't know how to recover it yet. Chatham Rock Phosphate was formed in 2004. It's now listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, NZX and the Frankfurt Exchange. Our mineral asset is, with an independent report by RSC Consulting, as an inferred JORC and 43101 phosphate resource. We first applied for a exploration permit in 2007, got that in 2010, got a mining permit in 2013, and were turned down for an environmental permit in 2015. We plan to reapply, and I'll talk more about that later on. As I said, we hold a 20-year mining permit. 81 million US has been invested in this project since 1966, 50 million of that by the previous owners of the title, which included the New Zealand government, the German government, Fletcher Challenge, and 3 private companies in Germany. We completed feasibility studies by our technical partner, Pascalis, who are also a shareholder. We have established a product market for our products and quite a strong competitive position due to our location, the product characteristics and so on. We have a great board, management team and advisory panel, most of whom are on gardening leave at the moment because this project has been stalled for a few years. And that's because we didn't get an environmental permit back in 2015. Just give you some idea of how much has been invested so far. The blue line is money that we have raised. It's more than 52 million New Zealand dollars. The market value of the company is the red line. As you can see, there's some blips in there. The first big blip over 50 million market cap was when we got granted the mining permit. The fall after that was when Trans-Tasman Resources got turned down for their environmental permit. We recovered, and then as you can see, the final, that collapse back in above the March line there was when our environmental permit was turned down. Our market cap fell from over 40 million to 2, and we were in deep strife then. We had assumed we were going to get it. The biggest decision on the day that came out was whose champagne we were going to drink first, and it didn't happen. So as you can see, we've dawdled along there in recent years. The big peak later on is when we acquired an Australian mining phosphate operation and one in French Polynesia. But as you can see, the market euphoria has faded away since then. So why are we bothering to resubmit for the environmental permit? First of all, the legislative position has completely changed. The government application, the government approach to resources has made all of this, has made, for example, this conference possible. We're now actually talking about things which can be done. I think what also has changed since 2015 is we were opposed by the local iwi then. Subsequently, we have just had long discussions with them. In 2019, we announced that we have an accord with that local iwi, who are Ngāti Mutanga. And they, subject to being happy about the environmental risks, they've said they will support our project and want to have a shareholding in it. Hence, we're going to reapply. The world has changed in the last few years too. Water quality is quite a big deal, and our product is better in that concern. There's various other issues which I won't just read out. I guess another related things, you don't talk about ethical issues very often within the mineral sector, but the big difference here is that rock phosphate, which is coming in from overseas, is coming from a disputed territory. The Western Sahara Freedom Movement has succeeded in stopping exports to this rock to 8 other countries, and Ravensdown and Balance have been under considerable pressure to follow suit, which they have so far managed to withstand. Right, the next steps is to source the finance to complete the application, and that will either be via the EPA route as before or the fast-track hearing process. That's been the big problem for us. That's why I said we're stalled in the water, because we haven't been able to raise enough money, because it cost 20 million last time to apply, to actually do the work to apply for it. And the good news is that there's good news on the horizon. So then there's the usual things you do. You consult stakeholders. We're going to gather further information, reformat the previous information, and so on, resubmit after raising funds. The environmental impacts are minor. It's 30. We will mine 30 square kilometres a year on the seabed, and we'll be only mining for 90 days a year. In the same area, the fishing industry bottom trawls in exactly the same area at 19,000 square kilometres a year, and the fish keep coming back. The part of the EPA hearing back in 2015 was the independent experts from both the fishing industry and the resource and other parties basically agreed and signed that there'd be no significant impact on fishing yields or the nearby spawning ground. This is a matter of public record. If you go to the EPA website, you can see that. Right, now, this is sales guidance. I'm not allowed to quote profits or serious numbers, but our rock phosphate can either be made into single superphosphate, and the market value of that is about $171 a tonne at the moment. If you use it as a substitute for triple superphosphate, it's worth significantly more, because it's 85% as effective, and that's been supported by two research institutes in New Zealand in field trials. If it's sold as an organic reactive phosphate rock, it has a special value as well, because it's organic, so it's worth more. And these prices are quoted from World Bank and from Balance and Ravensdown price lists. I guess the key thing here on the bottom line is the blue line on the bottom is our expected production cost, which is quoted 62 euros a tonne, which is about $71 US. The weighted average selling price is the red line, which is a bit further up, which is about $266 a tonne. So there's a bit of a margin between $72 a tonne and $266. I'll go away from the economics. This is where it's based. We would be then, well, you can see where the mining area is based. We would then have a base onshore on either of the islands or both on an East Coast port. And it has to be an East Coast port because the shipping time is much shorter, the travelling time. And time and ships cost money, as you know. That's the sort of typical dredging vessel that would be used, would be adapted. This is the sister ship of a ship that recently dredged the Littleton Port Channel, which was called the Fairway. This one's actually the flagship of the Royal Biscalis fleet, called the Queen of the Netherlands. It's 235 metres long. It can carry up to 50,000 tonnes of rock phosphate in one hit. Right, I'm just talking about rare earths briefly. As I said, the rock phosphate is pretty valuable out there, but the rare earths are significantly more valuable, 100 times more valuable. The rock phosphate nodules themselves includes 15 to the 17 rare earths, and in the seafloor muds there's a whole lot of other materials as well. Right, I'm probably getting there ahead of time, aren't I, Joe? It's usually 44 pages long, the slide, but I cut it back. Just finish off.
We've got a couple of minutes, and then we've got one question from the floor as well.
Okay, well, basically the last word is we hold a mining permit. The existing difference with this, everyone has been talking about capital costs. We won't have any because it'll be contract mined. We will effectively buy the rock phosphate from the dredging company at $72 a tonne US and sell it for 266. So obviously the numbers are pretty good. I'm not allowed under either NZX or TSX rules to make profit predictions, but if you work out, if you multiply 1.5 million tonnes a year by the difference between 72 and 266, you get to a pretty big number.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.